Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert for the Daily Market Insight for Monday, the 19th of June. All right. Now, I tell you what, we just sort of got really settled markets. Okay. It looks like we might start to see some trending activity, especially after the Fed, US CPI, ECB, everything's out on the table, all the heavy hitting stuff. So now we can get on with trading. The news is sort of struggling a bit. Dollar drifts as traders weigh rate path, yen fragile. I mean, these are just some of the topics that they're sort of talking about. But when I look at the market as it is right now, it looks very nice and calm. And this is where we start to see the potential for some key sort of trends. Equity markets, okay, the Dow Jones, the S&P, and the NASDAQ, all sort of happily moving topside. Tells me there's not too much concern about a US Fed rate hike in the immediate future. Crypto's pretty static around that $26,000. Starting to see oil slowly pick up a bit of momentum just to get through that first resistance line. But obviously the dollar lower, euro higher, gold pretty static, right? That's on your global markets. Now, if we sort of drill into the currency markets, just having a look here, that move on the dollar, right, that dip and the sort of follow through from the ECB has got sterling sort of moving higher. The Aussie market looks like it's been caught long after the unemployment figures last Thursday. And we had really weak Chinese data as well at the end of last week. And that seems to be putting a little bit of a dampener on the Aussie and Kiwi, right? So just sort of factor that in. But to me, the overall sort of action is a weaker dollar, okay? And you're seeing that, and we should see the euro sterling and then the Aussie Kiwi catch up later on. So at this point, though, there's not much to do. Right, it's Monday, Asian markets open. There's not a hell of a lot sort of going through the market. Good time to be doing your analysis, your technical analysis, and then come through and sort of analyze what's going on. Now, I probably don't emphasize enough how important it is, or how much easier it is to trade if you're just focusing on one particular instrument. Okay, whether that's an equity market, or an indice, a currency, as in like sterling against the dollar. It makes things easier. Now, we do bounce around where the action is, okay, following sort of central bankers speaking. Then you've got the Canadian data, and then we're sort of going through into Tuesday, the RBA minutes, etc. But most weeks have a key theme, right? And if I sort of just scroll down here through, and I've got all the lower tier numbers here to high impacting numbers on the radar here, you can see there's bits and pieces coming out on Tuesday. Get a few US the start of the housing numbers out of the US as well. Now, that's not like big impacting at all or high impacting, but it can have a consolidated effect if the other data sort of lines up with it. And then you're coming back down, you get into sort of Wednesday, and then all of a sudden sterling starts to really stick out. Okay, you got the CPI on Wednesday there. You've got the retail price index, the RPI, the PPI. Got a lot of inflation information here coming out. Okay, and so that's going to be very important, but it flows on from there, right? There's a few US numbers, and of course the Canadian housing and retail sales figures coming out on Wednesday as well. Well worth a look, especially if dollar CAD or the CAD crosses are one of your favorites. We've got a bunch of central bankers speaking out from the Fed, Bank of Canada summary of deliberations. And then you come back down here. Then we start to get into the more heavy hitting stuff on Thursday, the Bank of England interest rate decision. And then if you come down into Friday, we have you got the GfK consumer sentiment numbers, but then mainly the retail sales figures out of the UK as well. Now, this is combined with a bunch of US numbers that are coming out this week. Okay. And you got a bunch of crude numbers there. You got Chairman Powell his testimony. They'll be sort of just quizzing him around what's going on, what's their policy, what are they doing. Okay, that'll probably get a lot of airtime, right? Because all the politicians don't like to see higher rates. Doesn't go good for their people who are voting for them. And then you got a few extra bits and pieces. But the key theme of the week for me is definitely sterling, right? And there's bits and pieces going through. I really think we will start to see some trending markets. Okay. They are easier to trade. There's less pressure. There's less wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, from all the big high impacting numbers. I'm expecting euro, sterling, the dollar to keep falling. Now, dollar yen's just doing its own thing, but the dollar heading lower. overall the bottom pairs there until probably good value there on the Aussie. But so you're looking at this situation, and you can really isolate through the calendar what's the key data for the week. As I said, sterling is going to be a major focal point, and that's something that you need to really get your head around, because that's where the major flow momentum will come through. Obviously, keep an eye on the equity markets, see exactly what's going on. But as you can see, the Asian day here, is it a risk on, risk off? Well, you'd say it's probably a risk off. Okay, you got a few of these instruments heading lower. The dollar sort of generally just poking its head up, but these things have hardly moved, right? The pressure's off the market at this point. Cryptos are getting a little bit touched up, but not much to do there. If anything, you can really see a standout. Commodities are getting a bit of a pasting on the start of the day, right? And that could lead through the week. So the idea is Monday trading, when you come back to the screens, is get your technical analysis done. Let me say that properly. And then start to sort of piece together the week around the fundamentals, instruments that you either like trading or you have a very good understanding of. And then you can sort of start to prepare potential shifts in momentum, basic supply and demand, buyers versus sellers. And as I was saying, I think sterling is the standout. Obviously, the Bank of England meeting is going to be particularly tricky. Okay, you got the decision. They've got the MPC meeting minutes. I mean, obviously, the vote count comes out at the same time, and there's probably a press conference there as well. So not easy trading, but all we're looking for is the market to continue going the same way. And sterling, inflation's out of control, as we know. Pressure on the Bank of England to raise rates, which they have got 0.25 factored in here. Now, like the ECB, they might just come out and raise by 0.25 and go, you know what? We're going to keep going because inflation is out of control, which you would expect. But we'll sort of learn a bit more about that as it gets closer to the event. In the meantime, if you are having a look around the various bits and pieces, there's always a bit of interest around dollar yen. Okay, as you just saw there in the headlines. And this is, I sort of noticed this on Friday, where we are starting to see dollar yen. It is neutral, right? So we are seeing euro, sterling, CAD for that matter, Kiwi and Aussie all heading topside, right? The yen is basically neutral, but we are starting to see someone sort of cashing in on some of these yen cross moves. But by no means is this move over, right? The dollar, well, it's sort of into its box, and it gives the yen crosses some interest. Maybe well worthwhile just keeping an eye on the yen crosses by themselves, right? These are different trading instruments that you can generally get your teeth into and sort of make some odds and ends out of that. Now, just on sterling, while we're there, I haven't updated my sterling cross charts there for a while, but just come in. This is a good time to sort of, on a Monday leading into a big week, just check out what's going on across the board here on sterling crosses. You often find a diamond in the rough. Can't quite get that onto the top there. I'll do that later on. But just have a look around, see where the pressure points are on some of these crosses. You can generally isolate the best potential instrument. And now we're talking about interest rate differentials, especially come Thursday when the Bank of England are expected to raise rates. If they say they're going to raise rates again, it's a good chance for the sterling crosses to really make some gains against a lot of these other instruments, okay, especially ones that are on hold at the moment or at the top of their interest rate hiking cycle. And that's where you can piece together the fundamentals and get them working for you. But I do really like the shape of the week. It's just a matter of waiting for the sort of penny to drop, okay? Wait for the opportunities to come into play, and you'll be able to make some odds and ends out of those when you get there. And I'll just tune that up while I'm here. Get on that top. Back to the full market. All right, sorry about that. Just meticulous for getting the highs and lows there. So as you can see, like you'll notice that when you actually get up the sterling crosses, it's like clear as day sometimes what's going on. Obviously, sterling yen massively to the top side. You've got euro sterling belting to the downside. Obviously, sterling going up, and that should be trending, continue to trend higher. Will it go up against Aussie and Kiwi? Well, it has at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see how the Aussie plays out. Strong fundamentals in the Aussie. You might see that pull back. But at the moment, sterling is doing a good job against just about everything, right? So keep an eye on that as we go through the week. As I said, looking around the market, not just on the major instruments like against the dollar, having a look against the crosses, you can often find some instruments that haven't yet moved, which are primed for a big move once the data comes out. That's it, guys, for me. Once again, go through your calendar, sort out your favorite instruments, see where the pressure points will come, and that's the way to play this week. All right, guys, have a good one. Cheerio.